We'll go out there and we'll get the dogs. We'll put tracking collars on them, the Garmin's. So we'll know where they're at. When they smell one, they'll bark. And then when they get up, track it up and tree it, they'll sit down a tree and then we'll just walk in there to them.
How do you decide if you're going to shoot it or leave it?
Just whatever y'all want to do.
Sounds like we're shooting it.
Welcome back to the Ozark podcast. We are here at my house, and we're coming off of a really intense rut. Deer hunting has been crazy. I've been seeing deer moving left and right, and it seems like everyone I know has shot a big buck at this point, except me.
You still got time, man.
I got a little bit of time left.
Bow season lasts forever.
It does.
It's like half the year in Arkansas,
Literally,
which is great.
Yeah, it's a ton of time to get the job done.
From where we're sitting, though, we've had a pretty great season with hunting bears, killing deer. I know you've been making me some bear jerky.
Oh, man.
You've been baking with some bear lard.
Yep.
That's a big time.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. I get a kick out of even when I'm, how would you say it? Using your harvest.
Our kill, Kyle. We've established this.
Okay.
Our kill.
I still get a lot of enjoyment out of cooking with it, and man, I've got a bang up jerky recipe that is, I can't claim it as my own because it's not. It's actually from a friend of ours, his family, and they've had it in their family for like 6 or 7 generations.
A vineyard family.
Special.
Yeah.
And they use wine in the marinade of the jerky. Because that's their family, that's like their roots. And so it's an old school jerky recipe, and it is so good. And I did some with the bear that you shot, and then I did some with the deer that I shot. And man, I love doing that
Dude,
stuff.
you can't beat it. I smoked a venison backstrap here just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Whole backstrap. Smoked it. Got it to like 127 internal, and then reverse seared it. Like let it rest and then seared the edges.
Look at you.
And oh, dude, it was crazy.
That was for Thanksgiving, right?
It was.
Okay.
That was like the, welcome into the home apps kind of hors d'oeuvres, venison special there. And then Daniel was making fun of me because I make it for everything, including smoked trout, bear, any wild game. But I love making. I actually saw, I think it's Remy Warren, who's the solo hunter guy.
Yeah.
He made this in the field with wild blueberries, and I thought that's the coolest thing ever. We don't have wild blueberries here, so I use store-bought blueberries, but a blueberry, and then it's like brown sugar, red wine, and sage and rosemary reduction jelly to put on like a cracker or something if you're going to do smoked meat, and it's money.
It's fire. So do you have a name for it that you've like coined, or?
I just stole it off somebody's Instagram. I have a coin name for it.
But it's like, it's a blueberry reduction
sauce. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But if y'all want the recipe for that or smoked venison, let us know on Instagram. I'll send it to you.
That's
happily.
Yeah.
I will DM it to you.
Should I share the jerky recipe?
No.
It's kind of I kind of would have to ask permission to even pass that on.
Yeah, you're like a keeper of a secret.
Yeah. Well, if you want to maybe ask, I'll
you
have
can
to
ask. We'll decide.
I'll decide then. We'll see. But all that aside, we got to do something pretty cool recently.
We did.
And to kind of set up this episode, I'll hint at that and then we'll get into it. But basically, we had been talking about like, man, what are some other topics we can cover? When you get into the fall, it's very, a lot of people are like keyed in on deer hunting, and everything is deer hunting, and you got to talk about early season, getting into the rut, even before that pre-rut and food sources and all that. And there's just a lot to cover. But I was like, there's other stuff going on too.
Yep.
And one of the things that I personally thought would be really cool to talk about, because I genuinely don't know a whole lot about it, is coon hunting. And there's a couple reasons why I wanted to cover it, but really the main one, other than just wanting to learn, is the history of coon hunting in the Ozarks and just in the United States in general is so rich, and it's so storied, and man, it just used to be such a big deal, and it's really gone away over time. It's shifted, and so few people now do it. because of so many reasons. And
so many different factors.
Yeah. And so just to have an episode where we talk about it and interview someone who still does it on a regular basis and ask them why they do it and what they get out of it, and just learn from them how it works and what that community is like, because it has its own community within that world, just like the deer hunting community kind of has its world, and the fishing community has its world, and you can even split that into different subgroups. So anyways, that's kind of setting up this episode. That was what I thought would be cool to talk about. So we drove out to somewhere deep in the Ozarks and met up with our guest, his name is Phil Davis, and Phil is a long time coon hunter.
And you didn't mention this earlier, but we're talking specifically the storied history of coon hunting with dogs.
Yeah,
in America.
Right.
And so this is Phil Davis, longtime veteran. I don't even know if we got a list of his credentials because they were so vast.
I kind of forgot to ask.
Totally. But it's like trained multiple trophy winning dogs, multiple nights and grand nights and all of the stuff, which at first when he was saying this, I thought he was spelling it with a K. And I'm like, that's epic.
Yeah.
And then I realized to be a grand night dog means you win the night.
The night.
Multiple nights and however it's tiered, and a whole world that I knew nothing of.
Yeah.
But was so excited to get a little glimpse into.
Yeah. No, it was cool. To your point, yeah, it's like this guy, he's so decorated and he has so many credentials. And I totally forgot to ask. I was like, wait, how many awards have you won? And he was talking about dogs he sold for, several tens of thousands of dollars, that they're just that good. But he was nice enough to invite us out to his place, and he and his coon hunting partner, Eddie, was also out there. And so we sat down, we had a conversation, and then afterwards, we loaded up in the truck and we went coon hunting.
We did.
And we took their dogs out, and we took 3 dogs out, and 2 of them were kind of the veteran dogs. They were really taking charge.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had one younger dog who I think was 2 years old.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
But
I
still,
think is what he'd said.
Pretty much learning how everything works.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna, before we even get into the episode, I kind of just want to talk through the hunting part of it, because man, it was cool. I think that's an interesting piece, just to get to hear from 2 guys like us who've never done it before, hear how it works, and kind of break through some of you'll hear once we get to the interview, there's a lot of terms that get thrown out there, and maybe we can kind of try to demystify some of that before we even get to the actual episode. But pretty much we recorded, and then we loaded up and we took off. So from there, kind of maybe talk people through how the night went.
As a quick record, because the frost was coming, and they're like, we got to go hunt these things. It's time to go. Man, we loaded up in the truck, meaning dog box in the truck, multiple dogs in kennel. Don't know how they decide which dogs they want, but whatever dogs they wanted to hunt. GPS collars on, and remind me the 3 names.
So you had Gypsy.
Yep.
And Gypsy, I think, was a 9-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
These are all blue ticks.
Yep. Blue tick hounds.
Yep. And so you had Gypsy was a 9-year-old, and you had Joey. Gypsy was Phil's dog. Joey was Eddie's dog.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, I think, was 7. I may get that wrong, but he was 7. And then you had Nibbles. And Nibbles
named by the grandkid.
Yeah. And Nibbles was the pup who was still kind of out there for learning purposes.
Yep. So GPS collars on the dogs. And we threw on boots and warm gear and headlamps and all the stuff and loaded up in the truck. Drove to some property that they had access on from farmers and whatnot, and they release the dogs, get them out of the truck. They take off, and I don't know, within the first 2 or 3 minutes of watching the dogs run through the cow pasture up into the woods, and then we start hearing them bark. What would you call that?
Like a locate? Like a location bark?
Is that right?
Well, there was a couple different barks, and this was part of it, that it was a little bit confusing, but also impressive to watch, because you send the dogs off, they've got GPS collars, and so he's actually able to watch okay, Gypsy and Joey, they've run off to the left, and they're over here, and they're at 400 yards away, but they're kind of generally sticking together. Nibbles on this first spot
goes the other way.
Totally 600 yards way the opposite way down the creek. And they were like, what the heck is Nibbles doing over there? But then the whole time they're doing this, they're listening to these different barks. And each bark means a different thing. And they were able to pick apart oh, Gypsy, she's on a trail, but she's really not giving it all she's got.
It's a cold trail, probably.
A cold trail.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of like deducing this information. And then they're like, oh, now she's on a hot trail. And now her and Joey are working together. And man, they seem like they're close and they've located. And now, they think they're treed or they're getting close and they think they've got the general area. And then finally it ends with like, boom, they're going crazy and they've treed a coon.
Mm-hmm.
And so that first spot, that's exactly how it went, was Nibbles is off in her own world over there. Gypsy and Joey go to work. And then finally, I think Gypsy was the one who treed the first coon.
Mm-hmm. So they had some kind of bark that let them know there's a coon in this tree.
Yeah.
And it's not a locator. Is it a brawl or a yell?
There was ball and chops and there was all kinds of words.
Y'all will hear this in the episode. We are not skilled in the dog world.
No, we're not.
That's okay. We're not trying to be, or not pretending to be.
Yeah.
I might be trying to be eventually, but we're not pretending to be. And so we locate the first coon. It's awesome. I mean, you're like running across the creek, you climb the hill, the dogs are at the tree, they're going crazy, spotlights go up, and it's like, there it is.
There it is.
Here's the gun. You were the first to take a shot, knock that coon straight out of the tree.
Yeah.
It crashed down.
That thing made a thump.
It was a big raccoon.
That thing was
really
huge.
big.
I was not expecting it to shake the ground like it did when it came down.
And the dogs jump on it, and then they're like, it's dead. They pick it up, and we go on to the next one.
Yeah. I thought it was so cool, to kind of set the scene when they first treed that first coon, and you're like, all right, man, they're treed up. We're going to go find them. We walked out into this field. The fog is starting to kind of set. The frost is forming on the ground. And then you walk down into this creek and the dogs are there and you're walking up out of the other side. And I could not imagine a more picture perfect image of coon hunting in the Ozarks. Everything just felt right. And it was like, I remember you look back at me and you're like, we got to get a coon dog.
Got to
do it, man.
Well, it felt like we were stepping back in time.
It did.
Like it felt like we were stepping into the heritage of the Ozark way,
mm-hmm.
of surviving off the land, of hunting and fishing and trapping and treeing coons, and then all the way up into the 60s, 70s, and 80s when fur was actually worth something and people did it as a part-time job or a hobby or side hustle, like
maybe even a full-time.
Some
of the prices they were talking about how it used to be.
Yeah, they were saying $30 for a good pelt.
Back in the 70s and 80s, which
say adjust for inflation.
Yeah, $30 would have gone a long way. I mean, you could have treed up 4 or 5 coons in one night. You could make more doing that than actually working.
You really could. Yeah, it felt like we were stepping into some history.
Yeah.
It was really neat.
It was cool. So that was kind of the first one. And then, we go from spot to spot. And then later on, we went to another spot. They went out. They searched for a while. They ended up not finding anything.
Nothing. Just drinking coffee and looking at the stars.
Which is a cool thing about coon hunting. It's very social.
Mm-hmm.
So they send them out. But then, they come back and we're like, all right, let's check one more spot. And so we did. And then, we're sitting there for a while. Kind of, it's like, took a little bit longer than the first one. You're like, I don't know if it's going to happen again. Maybe that the frost is now set. And it's it's just kind of not going to happen, but boom, there they go. They're treed up, and then it's time to go search for them. And then you got yours.
Yep.
And that was cool because that was just in a kind of a different spot. It wasn't in the creek. It was kind of in the middle of this field, and
just up in a tree. You see the coon up there, and the light shine it, and hand you the gun. It's like, all right, this one's yours.
Yep.
Just one crack shot, and it's done.
Yeah. No, it was a good night, man. I really enjoyed it, and am really grateful that Phil and Eddie were so kind to like take us out. I totally was not expecting that. It's always like, man, we just want to talk to you. And for them to be like, well, to hell with talking, let's do it.
Let's go hunt.
I'm like, yeah, man, I'm about it. So we'll get to the episode now and you'll notice we kind of cut it short because I think we were all just itching to actually go. It's like we sat down and, time was running out on us and the frost was starting to set and you want to get out there before all that happens while the coons are still active. And so we cut it short a little bit, but yeah, we had a good time hanging out with them, and I hope y'all kind of get the feeling that we got from hanging out with these guys, and hope you guys appreciate this episode.
Give me just a little flavor of when you got started coon hunting and how long you've been doing it.
Well, I've been doing it for years. I started when I was 12, and I started. There's a boy in West Fork that had dogs named James Bowen, and I drove by his house and seen them, and I stopped on visit with him. I was on my motorcycle, and then that's how it all got started. And then from then on, I've been hunting for years.
And you saw his dogs and you remembered it was a particular breed, and it's still the breed that you own today, right?
It was blue tick dogs, and my uncle BW, he had blue tick dogs when I was a little kid, and I seen them and I liked them, and then when I seen them at James's house, I stopped and visited with him, and that's where I got to hunting.
Gotcha.
I've hunted ever since.
And was it just an instant connection? Like, man, I love this. What about it was it that kind of got you eat up inside?
Well, I love the dogs, and then I just did love to coon hunt, and it was getting out of a nighttime doing something, and it was just enjoyable, and I've just enjoyed it. So hadn't done anything else but coon hunt hardly. I travel around. When I was younger, I traveled to hunts all over the country and hunted and everything, and so I just enjoyed it and haven't ever quit it, and I still go.
Yeah.
So.
You were telling us about some of those competitions, traveling around and hunting different dogs and across different states. What did that look like? How does a competition like that work? And then what was involvement in it looking like for you?
Well, I mean, I won quite a bit traveling, and I drawed out a night or two and got behind in a cast, and they have more coons than what we had. And I was going to pull out one time because once you get down 500 points, you can't hardly come back. Well, then this boy that was in the cast, he said, hey, we'll tree more coons than that because we've got more coons than what you got at your house. He said, if you'll just hang in, he said, you're liable to come back and win. Sure enough, I did. I come back, scored 775 points and come back and won. But yeah, it's different all over. You just got to learn it as you go.
Yeah.
I
want to go there and maybe we'll save that for here in a minute to kind of dive into some of the weeds because like I said, I know nothing about points and how they're scored and where you do it and how you make sure that it's fair because, you're hunting over here and this guy's hunting here. So we'll come back to that. But let's talk about the tradition a little bit and kind of history of coon hunting in the Ozarks. I know that, basically as long as people have been here in the Ozarks, they've been coon hunting and it was a way to, provide subsistence to their family, but also a way to make money for a long time.
Yeah.
Talk me through kind of the evolution of coon hunting from the very first people who did it to up until today, kind of that history.
Well, the people that started years ago, they didn't have the lights that we've got today. I mean, they was in carbide lights and whatever they could carry, and lanterns and stuff. Yeah. But now we've got the lights that'll reach out there and 40 yards and, you can see anything. And, but yeah, it's a different deal. I remember years ago we'd had some lights that is called KW lights, and every time we'd use them, they leaked acid. All the coon hunters didn't have no seats in their vehicles because the acid would leak all in their seat and eat them up.
From the lights?
Yeah, from the lights. So, but anyway, yeah, but it's a different deal now than what it used to be.
And back then when they were out there using lanterns and stuff like that, was it, I mean, were dogs even a big part of it back then, or were they just really, how has it changed in that regard to just methods of hunting?
No, it's about the same. I mean, the dogs had to tree the coons. I mean, it was about the same. And, back in that day, you could hunt anywhere. Nobody cared, but this day and time, you got to watch everything where you get. And we'll run Garmin tracking collars on them now where you can keep up with them, try to keep them off people's land that don't want them on there, and stuff. You got to kind of control them more than what we used to.
Yeah. And when you say control them, they're, like you said, they're kind of out on their own. They're not on leash.
Yeah.
They're not on a lead. You basically turn them loose at the truck and then you listen for them and you track them on the GPS to find them again.
We got the Garmin and the Garmin will show you everywhere the dog goes. And then like if he gets in places that it's not supposed to be in, well, you can tone them and they know to turn around and come back or just try to keep them off places that we're not supposed to be on, and because a lot of people, they don't want you on there no more. It's not the same as it used to be.
Tell me about a little bit more about that place, being able to like kind of go anywhere versus now. Have you had people say like you can't hunt here anymore, or land has been sold and now you don't know the people who own it?
Yeah. Me and Eddie, this happened about 3 weeks ago. Me and Eddie, this guy gave us permission to hunt on his property, and we got up there and we was hunting on his property. Well, we got on his brother. We didn't know his brother owned half of it. Well, they got us on camera, and so they were gonna get us for trespassing.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He said they're going to get us for trespassing. Well, his brother had given us permission, and his brother finally got to talk him out of it, and he didn't do it. But yeah, they was going to write us up.
And back in the old day,
pretty
much, do you think it was more because temperaments and attitudes were different about coon hunting, or do you think it was more like, well, people didn't have trail cameras, and so they didn't know that you were on their land as much, maybe?
Yeah, years ago they didn't know. Yeah. And most people seen lights years ago didn't care. Most people, when they see it, they didn't care. But this day and time, they care.
Yeah. When do you feel like the coon hunting, the popularity of coon hunting really started declining? Because I hear stories of people back in the times when, especially when fur prices were really high, and you could get $25 a pelt for a really prime hide off of a coon here. What was the timing of when, at least from what you've seen, of when the popularity really started shifting down?
I would say in the 80s and 90s, the coon hides was still pretty decent. I sold some of them. Well, I went to Nebraska and hunted, and we killed, me and David Priest killed, I think 22 in a couple nights, and we sold them for $54 a piece. That was
$54 a piece.
That was the highest I ever sold a coon hide, yeah.
And you said that was in Nebraska?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Lincoln, Nebraska. And then around here, though, we hunted, and our coons were a little bit littler than the Nebraska coons.
Sure.
And we got tops are probably about $32 a piece.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, 90s, 70s and 80s, 90s.
That's
I could make
really
more.
Good.
I could make more coon hunting than I could working.
Seriously?
Yeah, because if I'd tree 5 one night, there you go.
Golly.
Yeah, it's a lot different.
What does a coon hide go for right now?
I'd say about $2.
Really?
Maybe.
Just no value.
Yeah, no value. They're not worth skinning.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different deal. But I used to get all my Christmas money. I'd sell my coon hides to get my Christmas money years ago.
Yeah, I believe it.
Why do you think the value's dipped the way it has? Just not the fur market?
I really don't know. I heard that Russia quit buying the furs, what I heard. But
okay.
I don't know if that's it or not.
Mm. So that timing of the popularity, do you think it started going down with the prices?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
And the people, there's a lot of people that still competition hunt that do it for the competition fun, But yeah, the people don't hunt. There's not near as many hunters as there used to be. So used to you could go out and if you sold your dog, you could go out and buy another dog next day. But now if you sell your dog, you better be looking because you can't find them to buy.
The breeders aren't around.
Well,
there's less people hunting.
Yeah, they just don't want to feed them because the dog food's so high. They don't want to keep them and feed them. So there's not as near as many dogs.
Gotcha.
So.
And whenever you go out and you're hitting the woods and you're on public land, I guess a lot of the time are you hunting on public land? You're trying to get in.
Yeah.
It's basically the deep, darkest, dense woods you possibly can get into.
Yeah, we'll hunt on. I'll call some people when we go hunting, and they let me hunt on their property. And then sometimes we'll go to back country to government land.
Okay.
Hunt on it. But we hunt a lot of public land.
And nowadays, you probably don't run into a whole lot of people out there.
No.
Back in the day, you probably did though.
Yeah. I used to, when you first day of season, first night of coon season, you hear dogs treat every direction.
Really?
Yeah. But now you can go out there and you don't hear nothing, not any treat around here anyway.
Was it just twinkling lights of headlamps and stuff back in the day?
Yeah, everybody was after the coon hides. They was trying to make $30.
Golly, no kidding. Think about that, Kyle. If you and I were treeing 5 coons a night and making $30 a hide on that,
we'd quit podcasting. We'd fund it.
Pay for all of our fun stuff that we do and all of our hunting equipment.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And having fun doing it. That's the thing. We was making money and having fun doing it. And every year I'd sell a dog. Used to, I'd train that dog and I'd sell it, and then I'd get me another one to have it ready for the next winter.
Yeah.
So make money both ways, kind of.
Okay. Talk to me now about, maybe we kind of return back to what Kyle was, the direction he was going with competition. So less and less people are hunting, but you said there's still a lot of people who competition hunt.
Yes, there's a lot of competition hunters.
And if you could kind of simplify that for me, I know there's several different, I don't know if you call them leagues, but you said like UKC, PKC, these different organizations that put together these hunts. If you could just at a very high level kind of break apart like how it works, these different competitions.
Well, what they do is in the hunts, like if 25 people go to a hunt, and then they go and they draw out 4 dogs to a cast. They'll try to get 4 to a cast. If they can't
what's a cast?
It's the ones that go out and hunt against each other.
Okay.
4 dog. It's a 4 dog, and then they'll go out and hunt. Sometimes it's a 2-hour hunt. Then sometimes they have 1-hour hunts, and then they'll have another 1-hour later hunt. And so it's like a 2-hour hunt, but it's just 1 hour at a time. You get a cast win. that goes towards your night champion degree. Or,
Okay.
Yeah, make them night champion. But anyway, it's they just draw them out, and then whoever scores the most, you have to win your casto to get in on it.
And the different, like UKC, PKC, these are different organizations, and they sponsor their own hunts, and they're different. Or
Yes.
what does that look like?
Well, they're about the same type of hunt. I mean, but the PKC most of the time give money away in theirs. They win money. And the UKC, they just either get a trophy or they get a degree towards Grand Night champion.
Okay.
And to make a Grand Night, you have to have 5 wins in the registered part to make them a night champion. Then when you make a night champion, I think you have to have 8 wins to make them a Grand Night. And then you still can hunt them, towards that big money hunt at the end of the year. But anyway, that's how it works. In PKC, I think they give money away at all the hunts. They split however many hunt in the hunt, they divide it up and split it.
Okay.
So they're guys who are making a living doing these hunts.
Yeah, there's professional handlers. They've got some people are paid professional handlers that hunt dogs and stuff.
Okay.
Like I seen a female on Facebook for sale, I think for $18,000
Whoa.
today.
Just for one dog.
Oh yeah, they're high dollar. They've sold, some of them sold for $100,000.
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they've sold them dogs high dollars.
And to justify that, maybe kind of give a little insight into some of the payouts on some of these competitions.
Gosh, I'm not sure exactly. Probably 100,000, something like that.
50 to 100,000.
Yeah.
So these are
Probably the max.
like very much could be annual salaries.
Oh yeah. The boys. I think a lot of them that hunt in the hunts that are handlers, I think they get so much. If they do win it, I think they get so much of the money. I think they give them so much of it. The owner of the dog.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a money making deal if you got a good one, but you got to have a good dog.
You got to have a good one.
Kind of a mix between like a racehorse and a bass tournament.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, it is.
Spending a lot of money
It
on your animal, on your dog, or the racehorse.
Yeah.
But then you also got to go win the tournaments and
Yeah.
keep one in to get at the higher level to then make more money.
Right. And spend the money back on training and keeping them tuned.
Yeah.
So what makes a good dog?
Well, you just got to hunt them. I mean, that's the main thing. You got to get them out there and hunt them every night, and you got to know your dog because they all bark different ways on different things. You got to know when they tree, and you got to be able to tree them quick. But the main thing making a good dog is just putting them in the woods. You just got to keep them in the woods and stuff, and you got to have good hearing. So you got to be able to hear good.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's they some of the professional handlers, they're good handlers.
Okay.
I mean, they're good. So,
What about like individual tendencies of a dog or attitudes that you pick up on early in maybe like a pup or something like that, where you're like, I know that this dog, it's got the drive, it's got the want to, this is going to be a good coon dog.
Yeah.
What are some of those things that you look for?
well, just look for them that can move a track for the main thing. You want one of them that goes a hunting. If you're going to competition, you got to have one to go a hunting. It's got to be able to run a track, and it's got to have a more or less a one bark locate. When it locates a tree, it's got to roll over and tree. It doesn't matter where it chops trees or balls trees or whatever, but when it locates, it's got to stay there. You don't want them locating and getting down, running around, because then you're going to get minus. They got to stay right there. So a one bark tree dog's your best dog.
Okay. And when you say minus, what are you talking about?
Well, if you go to a tree and your dog's milling around on the ground, smelling around on the ground or something, they're going to minus them. So you'll get minus
deduction in
points.
points.
Yeah, deduction in points. Yeah.
Okay.
So they got to stay there.
They got to stay focused.
They got to stay focused and stay on that tree.
Pause up on the tree,
Yeah.
looking up,
Yeah.
barking, howling.
Yeah.
And chop and ball, these are different terms that coon hunters use to describe different types of barks.
Yeah. Yeah, like a ball. You got ball mouth dogs that will run a track with a ball mouth, and then they tree with a ball mouth. Or you got a ball mouth dog on the track, and then they tree with a chop mouth, chop real fast. And that's the ones I like. I like the ones that chop tree.
You like the chop?
Yeah.
How come?
Because they're just prettier to listen to. It's more natural to me instead of bawling every breath and running out of air. It seems like that chopping they don't never run out of air, and it's just prettier.
Yeah.
And they bark the whole time.
Oh yeah, they chop tree the whole time till you get there.
Okay.
And in these mountains, they got to stay an hour or two sometimes.
Really?
Oh yeah,
For you to catch up?
Yeah, they got to stay treed.
Guess that makes sense if it's way out in front of you.
Yeah. If you get one that won't stay treed, you're in trouble. Get your way back in there and leave.
By the time you get there, they're off
Gone.
doing something else.
Yeah. They don't hang around very long. Get rid of them.
What is training, from puppy up to dog that you're saying it's got a good drive, it's got a good bark, it has what it needs to be a good coon hunter, other than getting them in the woods early and doing it a lot? What do you do for some extra training?
Well, really just take them and hunt them and then knock a coon or two out to them. When you see they're needing a coon, we don't kill all the coons they tree. And when a dog gets to slacking a little, you might have to knock them one out to get them back up on it because, and in the wintertime, we kill more than we do in the summertime. We don't hardly ever kill any in the summer. But
that's just because you're going out there to get them on coons.
Yeah, exercise them and get them on coons and stuff. And then we just don't hardly ever, most of the time in the summertime, we hunt a little easier area. And we ain't got very many of them around here.
Yeah.
So we try to save them coons. That's where we're going to take you boys tonight, to the easier area.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We actually haven't mentioned that. We're actually, after we get done interviewing, we're going to go, this will be my first coon hunt.
Same here.
So it's something I've always wanted to do, have always kind of had an interest in doing it, but just have never known anyone who actually goes and coon hunts anymore. So I haven't had kind of that foot in the door to go try it.
Well, after tonight, you boys will be hooked. You better get ready. Tell your wives.
Uh-oh. So what can we expect tonight? If we're going to go out there and basically walk me through what the evening's going to look like.
Well, we'll go out there and we'll get the dogs. We'll put tracking collars on them, the Garmins. So we'll know where they're at. We'll just send them in towards the timber, and they'll go in and look for a coon. And when they smell one, they'll bark. And then when they get up, track it up and tree it, they'll sit down and tree, and then we'll just walk in there to them. And we'll either shoot it or leave it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how do you decide if you're going to shoot it or leave it?
Just whatever y'all want to do.
Sounds like we're shooting it.
If it's a coon and I'm a big turkey hunter, so if any coon I can take out, that's a good thing.
Good sign. But we'll kill one then.
And then so from there, you just you move on and you try to.
We go do the same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just go do the same thing, turn them loose again, and see how many of the tree. Some nights you'll tree all den trees and never see a coon. Some nights you'll tree blank persimmon trees and not see no coons, and then some nights you'll just tree a coon up every tree. So you just something you don't never know.
Just depends on the night.
Just depends on the night, yeah.
And go ahead.
When it's moonlight, it's harder, but when it's dark like it is tonight, it's better. The coons move and they'll go up a tree when it's darker, but when it's moonlight, it's tough to get one on the outside. In our country.
Yeah. And how do their behaviors change? I mean, you think about like deer hunting, right? Like cold fronts coming in, I need to be in the woods, timing of the rut and everything. Are there different times of the year and cold fronts? Like, do some of these things affect coons as well?
Well, when it gets colder, they don't move quite as good. I mean, you won't hit as many, but you can still, if you got a dog that'll go find one, they'll go find one. But yeah, it makes it a little harder in the wintertime. It's a little tougher, yeah.
So you would actually expect to see more in the summer just because they'd be more active.
Yeah, they're more active and they're out and they're around all the water holes and everything, getting them a drink, and stuff. But in the wintertime, they're back in the backcountry a lot, so you have to gut it out more.
Yeah.
So
are they just looking for food?
Yeah, most of them just looking for acorns and stuff to eat.
And dog runs up on them. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And we sound really uneducated at this.
I mean,
I keep thinking about that. I'm just like, I'm excited to go figure it out and see it.
Yeah.
So what can we expect? And it's kill coons. You're like, okay, got it. Okay. That makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. The word you're saying makes sense. But so we're basically just going to kind of let the dogs do the work. You don't really have to key in on a food source or key in on a watering hole necessarily. Well, you may be aware of some of these things in the area.
Yeah, they like persimmons. So if you go when the persimmons are ripe, you go around them. You turn loose by some persimmon trees, or if the cherries are ripe, where cherry trees are. Summertime, you go turn loose by cherry trees, and you just kind of keep track of what's ripe and where have at different times of year have treed them and on different type trees while to go turn loose there because they're going to the food source.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just keep an eye on that, keep an awareness of where those things are.
Yeah.
And then do you kind of pair that with okay, I turn my dogs loose. I'm tracking them on the GPS. I know they're getting close to this spot. over here, so
Yeah.
there's a good chance that they're about to tree.
We know that sometimes we'll say, yep, they're getting over in a good place.
Okay.
So you know that. I mean, you can kind of keep track of that Garmin.
Yeah.
See, and years ago we didn't have Garmin's. We just have to drive around and listen for the dogs, stand on the truck and listen. But now we know right where they're at.
Yeah.
It makes it's nice.
That's a luxury.
Oh yeah, it's a luxury.
It sounds to me like coon hunting. It's a very social hunt. I mean,
Yeah.
because you're not having to be quiet. You're not having to sit still, freeze your butt off 15, 20 feet up in a tree with the wind
Yeah.
blowing up your back.
Yep.
You're either driving around or you're sitting at the truck hanging out and drinking coffee or doing whatever you want to.
Yeah, exactly. It's nice. That's what I like about the wintertime. You just roll the window down, drink your coffee, and sit and listen to them when they strike a coon. You know it. And then you can sit and listen when they tree. You know it, and you get out and go to them.
Yeah.
So it makes it kind of nice.
No, that is cool.
It ain't getting out there gutting it out or nothing.
No, it's not.
And we'll use the Garmin's too. Like if we can see that they're closer to another road, we'll drive around the other road and then walk into them, because you can tell sometimes that they're a lot closer to another road where you can get to them easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we do that too.
Gotcha. That makes sense. We've got another coon hunter here with us.
Yeah.
Eddie, and he's coming with us tonight, right?
Yep.
And we're going to run his dog or Clayton's dog. We got a couple guys
No,
here
we got
with us.
it's Eddie Rose, but no, Clayton, he didn't bring his dog.
Okay.
He's scared.
Okay. So which dogs are we running tonight?
Well, I don't know. We got
Eddie, do you want to
Joey?
Eddie, do you want to come over here and hop on a mic here? So we got Eddie here with us. And Eddie Rose, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming on the
You bet.
podcast. We're gonna run some dogs tonight. What's the lineup of the dogs we're taking out there, and maybe talk me through some of their different strengths and weaknesses between the two of you guys, if you don't mind.
I'm going to be hunting an old dog. She's a dual grand. Her name is Joey, and she's just a veteran. She's a good coon dog. And then Gypsy, she's a younger female, but she's a very good young dog.
And they've been hunting for a while. I mean, how old are these dogs?
Joey is 10. Joey's 10, and then Gypsy is 2, 3.
3. She's 3.
3.
Okay, gotcha.
So
They've got some experience,
yes.
Oh yeah.
and we're pretty confident that we're going to turn these dogs loose, and we're probably going to find some coons, or at least a dim tree or something, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they'll find
Yes.
something.
Okay.
Let's move to some favorite coon hunting stories before we wrap up, and then actually go make some. But I want to know, I don't know, craziest story, maybe favorite hunt, just kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
What do y'all have for us?
Well, the best coon hunt I think I ever was on, I was with Dennis Elbrader in Kansas. And we treed 13 singles by 11 o'clock. But we drove to every tree. That was the best part.
Oh wow.
Didn't have to hike.
You're quick.
No.
In and
yeah,
out.
Yeah. The best part about it, when I'd be standing there, he'd say, "Get in." I say, "Hey, I want to hear that. Get in." Yeah,
Keep
get in.
going.
So that's the best hunt I've ever been on.
13 by 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And you typically start about.
Probably about 6 or 7
Okay, gotcha.
most of the time.
Yeah. What about maybe if you had to do like an Ozark hunt? Just because Kansas, we love Kansas, but only the tiniest little slivers actually in the Ozarks. Best Ozark coon hunting experience or story. It's maybe something crazy happened, or you had a rabid coon chasing you down.
Oh, I never got any rabid coons.
Okay.
But I don't know. Probably around here, you might tree it. Probably a good night is maybe 4 or 5.
Okay.
Around here, hunting all night in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Now, if you go back in big country, back in White Rock, years ago, I liked to hunt that country because when I'd tree a tree, there'd be 5 in one tree sometimes. And I'd get all of them. That's $30 a piece. You made a pretty good lick right there
Yeah.
back in the day. So I always tried to go back in that country because nobody bothered them.
Right.
But now, no more than they're worth, we just hunt around here. We'll tree 2 or 3 and go home.
Gotcha. So when we ask the question, what's a good hunting story, and you equate it to numbers,
Yeah.
that's how you kind of measure a night. It's just purely off of
yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
I have a story when I was growing up I had a Jack Russell Terrier, and he was just a beast when it came to chasing squirrels, rabbits. Like, he was so locked in. He had such a drive to find critters.
Yeah.
There was one day we were out on our property, and we would just turn him loose, and he'd be gone all day, and he'd come back at night. Well, one night he didn't come back, and we were like, "Where's Jax?" That was his name. "Where's Jax? Where's Jax?" And we hear this deep, far off barking, and it's like that's a big dog. Like that's not Jax. Jax is a little terrier. We hike out to it. It's a long way away, and we finally get to it, and we realize it is Jax. And the reason why it's so deep and so dark, just deep voice bark. The reason why the bark is so deep is because he is 6 feet up in this hollowed out oak tree, and he has chased a squirrel or a rabbit up into the hollowed out trunk of this oak, and he's stuck in there, and we can't get him out.
Yeah.
And so when I think of a good story or something like that, I'm sure as coon hunters and running dogs, there's got to be some situations where y'all get into some tricky spots and your dog's stuck somewhere or ran into something or came up on a bear. Anything like that comes to mind?
Yeah, I've had a Sadie female that I had. She's the world champion, Sadie female. But anyway, I had her stuck in 2 trees that I had to get her out of.
In one night?
Oh yeah, no, it was different nights.
Okay.
But I went to get a chainsaw, and my buddy he got her. He slid her out. She crawled up in it, and all you could see was her back feet. Mm-hmm. And he got her out. The time I got back, I went to get the chainsaw, and he had got her out by then.
Yeah.
She done it to me twice, and I sold her.
That's enough of that.
That's enough of you getting stuck in these trees.
Yeah, I sold her. I thought I'd get rid of her.
Yeah.
But then she went on to win the world hunt twice.
After you sold her?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
She just had that drive in.
Oh, yeah. She was a nice dog. Yeah.
Man. What about you, Eddie?
Actually, the dog that I'm hunting tonight, about not this summer, but the summer before, we was down in the back country and we was coon hunting, and I got her snake bit.
Uh-oh.
She got bit right underneath her chin, and it swelled her up pretty bad. It didn't affect her though. I mean, she's all right. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, that's kind of one of the crazy things.
What do you do? Like, your dog's bit, now you're out in the middle of nowhere.
We actually didn't even know she was bit until we got back home with her. And then she was all swelled up. We just filled her full of Benadryl, and she got over it.
She did?
Yeah.
And she was fine the next morning, or did it take a couple days?
It took about a week before she finally got all that out of her.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Man. Never run up on a bear on any of these coon
Oh, yeah. I've
hunters?
seen a bear.
Y'all run up on bears?
Yeah, I wanted to shoot it, but my buddy wouldn't let me.
Yeah. Probably good.
It's a good thing, yeah.
Yeah, probably good.
I wanted to
Sounds
shoot
illegal.
It sounds illegal. Yeah. Well, cool, guys. I'm excited to go. I've mentioned that a couple times, but it's an honor to get to hang out with you guys and sit here and be welcomed into the circle a little bit. And let's go get on some coons.
All right, I'm going to sell him a dog, boys.
Sell him a dog.
All right.